Hello and welcome to Shannon Gardens. Thank you guys so much for joining me. So in this week's video, as we're closing in on Christmas, I thought that I would take you guys around the outside of my house and show you some of the decorations that I've put up for this year and a couple of new plant additions that I've used for decorating for the holidays as well that I'll be transferring to my landscape around springtime. So I thought we'd walk around and just take a look at everything both during the day and then lit up at night. All right, you guys, so with that, let's get to it. So the first plant that I wanted to share with you guys is this beautiful heuchera. Just look at that red color. Right when I saw it, I knew that that was a plant that I wanted to add to my containers for the holiday season. Now this variety is called fire alarm heuchera, and it has that red foliage in early spring and fall. However, it will stay evergreen in more mild winter climates, and so I'm assuming that it's going to probably stay evergreen, or hopefully anyway, stay evergreen for me as well. The hardiness zones are 4 through 8, and I'm in 7B, 8A, so I would think that being on the top of that tier, that this should remain evergreen for me, so we'll see how it goes. Now, if you guys notice here, I added some fairy lights underneath the heuchera so that at night it will glow that pretty red, and I'll show that to you guys a little bit later in the video. So to provide a little bit more information about the fire alarm heuchera, the lighting requirements are partial sun and the bloom time is spring to summer. It has spikes of pink bell-shaped flowers on reddish stems in the summer. As I mentioned before, the hardiness zones are 4 through 8, and the foliage reaches 9 inches tall and about 14 inches wide, and the blooms reach 18 inches tall. So this is a plant that I've got here in this container for now, and it's certainly fine there in the container for this season, but I will definitely be moving it in the springtime to a shadier location, because once that summer sun hits, it's going to need a shadier location than this, and also it's going to need a bigger area to thrive in. So this is here for now for the holiday season and for decoration, but it will be transplanted into the ground in the springtime. Next up is the Yuletide camellia. Now, I did a video when I got this camellia about a month ago, and I'll put a link to that video at the end of this one and in the description if you'd like to take a look at that one as well. But I've since then planted it in this container, and you can see that it is blooming. It's got lots of buds on it, and it's got these beautiful red blooms. Now, I've also put the fairy lights on this shrub as well, and that way it can glow at night. I've specifically tried to place them behind blooms so that that red can really shine at night, and I'll show that to you guys a little bit later in the video along with the heuchera at night. Now, with both the heuchera and with the Yuletide camellia, I've got those decorated outside, but they're both outside of windows so that you can see them from the indoors as well. And I'll give you a little bit more information about the Yuletide camellia. This is a part sun shrub. It prefers 3 to 6 hours of morning sun, and it blooms fall and winter, which is so nice when there's not a whole lot out there that's blooming. It's really nice to have something flowering, and particularly with this red color in the holidays. I just think it's quite lovely. The average mature size is 8 to 10 feet high and 10 feet wide, and it's non-hardy in zones 1 through 6. Now, obviously, this is going to get quite big, and so this is another plant that I will be taking out of the container. I've just got it in here for the holiday season and decorated, but once spring comes, I'll be moving that out of the container and putting it in a more appropriate location in my landscape. All right, so here we have a couple of hanging baskets that I planted about a month ago as well, and I did a video on that I'll link at the end of this video and in the description, along with the camellia video that I referenced earlier. Now, this is Dusty Miller and Viola, and both of them are full sun annuals, and they've really done quite well. They've filled in nicely, and they'll continue to fill in. I have to say I was a bit worried, particularly about the Dusty Miller, because we've had some unseasonably cold overnight temperatures in the 20s several nights in a row, and I wasn't quite sure how the Dusty Miller was going to hold up. However, it's done really well, and it just looks so pretty, I think, for the holiday season with that white silvery color. Now, the Dusty Miller gets about 10 inches tall, and then the violas get about 4 to 6 inches tall. So just wanted to give you guys a little update on those hanging baskets as well. We also have the paper whites that are blooming. These were bulbs that I planted in October and they bloom right around this time for my area and they're just so pretty. And I love incorporating the white coloration because we don't get much snow here in Georgia. I like having a lot of white in the garden too, particularly in the winter. And they have a light fragrance as well, so they're really quite lovely. Now, moving on to the front area of the house, I have this container here that I had decorated for Halloween, and I'll insert a picture here. And all I did was I removed the snapdragons that I had and then the pumpkins and added this beautiful lemon cypress. Now, this is a full sun annual and it's just so small. I think it's so pretty. I've gotten it the last few years. It only gets to 15 inches in height and it needs 6+ hours of direct sun a day. And it's just this beautiful, bright little tree. I love adding it in the wintertime to my containers, and I have it surrounded by pansies. Most of those pansies I left in from my Halloween decoration, and I just changed out the snapdragons and planted them in a different area. Now, this is something that I'm really happy with. This is the second year running that my daughter and I have attended a class in making this Williamsburg wreath. So, what's unique about the Williamsburg wreath and what I like about it is that it uses a lot of natural elements in the wreath itself. You can see there it's got dried oranges and pine cones, cinnamon sticks, and nuts. It's got berries. Now, the berries were not real, those are artificial, but it just has a more natural look to it. And it's funny because even at the bottom of this wreath, you can see where some birds have eaten some of the orange there, which actually I think is really neat. So I'm very, very happy with this wreath and enjoy doing it. And I'll actually try to release a short this weekend if you guys want to keep a lookout for that, where I just kind of show us putting it together with the hot glue and things like that. So very happy with the Williamsburg wreath. Below that, I've got my container of snapdragons, which I just cut back and trimmed back. You can see the taller plant there. And then in front of those, I have more pansies. So I've just deadheaded everything, and those should start blooming here again shortly. In keeping with the more natural looking decorations, I have a very unnatural artificial tree here that came with berries and pine cones that give it more of that natural kind of look, and it kind of keeps with that Williamsburg wreath theme. And then added some garland on the front porch as well that I'll show you guys all lit up here in just a couple minutes. There are some plants that I already have also in the landscape that I just kind of wanted to share with you guys real quick that I used to decorate with when I bring cuttings in inside to kind of do little arrangements. For example, I have this holly and I've got a couple of different hollies in the landscape, but this holly is just full of berries right now. So that's one that I've cut from and added into arrangements that I make inside. And then there's this variety, a weeping variety of holly that just gives a little bit different of a look than the one I just showed you. And I'll use these sometimes as well in my little arrangements that I make. We have the Carolina Sapphire Cypress, which is one of my favorite trees. We have a couple of these planted in the landscape. I really, really like these trees so much. Now, these are marked as hardy in zones 7 through 9 and grow to 30 feet in height and 20 feet in width. And they are for full sun. And they just have this really pretty blue-green foliage, and it just looks so pretty. So I love taking cuttings from these in the wintertime too to make some arrangements to have around the house. And then there's the Leland cypress that I like to use as well. And that's an evergreen tree that has more of a flattened appearance in the foliage and a true green coloration. And then here's a little arrangement that I just put together, collecting some of the things that I already had in the landscape rather than buying something at the store, and just utilizing what I have. So while I'm no florist, I just kind of wanted to give you an idea of how you can put something together from things that you may be able to find existing in your landscape. And then here in the evening, we have the beautiful heuchera just glowing that wonderful red color, all lit up with those fairy lights from underneath. And then we have the Yuletide camellia with the fairy lights that have cut on. Both lights on the heuchera and the Yuletide camellia are solar powered, so they just cut on as the sun sets. And then we'll go to the front area, and I recorded at a couple different times in the evening so that we could look at it with different lighting. This is right at sunset, so you can kind of see the whole front porch and get a good look at everything with the lights just coming on. And then a little later in the evening where you're really seeing more of those lights standing out. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm so excited for Christmas as we head into this last week here, and just wanted to wish everyone out there a Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays to everyone. Thank you so much for joining me again. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and click the notification bell so that you can be notified each time I upload a new video. All right, you guys, until next time, happy gardening and goodbye.